Subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell icon for the latest film interviews, features, and recommendations on the movies that matter. In a year when nothing felt certain, you could still rely on some of the finest filmmakers to transport us to new, different, sometimes familiar, but always fascinating worlds to lose ourselves in, if only temporarily.
पकड़ा गया और तुम कैसे बच गए?
In Arya, Ram Madhwani deposited us at the center of a ruthless crime saga in Rajasthan, raising the stakes as family was pitted against each other and friendships came undone when a desperate widow stepped up to protect her children.
Okay, got it. Thank you, everybody.
Anvita Dutt took us back to early 19th century Bengal in Bulbul, where she staged a fantastical allegorical tale of empowerment disguised to look like a gruesome horror story.
दूध में ऐसी गाएगा
तू दही
जमाना पाएगी.
Anurag Basu spun 4 interlocking stories about love, redemption, crime, and second chances in Ludo, populating the screen with nutty characters that he placed in unusual situations.
I think we just packed up.
In Patal Lok, Avinash Arun with co-director Prosit Roy cast an unsparing eye on the darkness that resides within humans, while exploring the sinister links between criminals, lawmakers, politicians, and the media.
आतिराम के होते ये केस सॉल्व होता भी तो कैसे?
A house party in a modest Mumbai flat became the stage where Rajat Kapoor set his pitch-black comedy about marriage, infidelity, and the test of friendship in Kadak.
I'm overwhelmed. Super excited.
Anubhav Sinha turned his lens to the Indian marriage to tell a powerful story about entitlement, patriarchy, and gender inequality in Thappad.
मुझे पढ़ना था, लेकिन वो लड़के वाले दहेज के बिना शादी करने के लिए तैयार हो गए, तो पापा ने कुछ पूछा ही नहीं. 19 साल की उम्र में विधवा हो गई.
Rohina Gera cast a respectful, empathetic gaze on the feelings that develop between a domestic worker and her employer in Sir, asking us to ponder whether love is enough to bridge the divide that separates them.
लोग मजाक उड़ाएंगे.
मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता.
मुझे पड़ता है सर.
In Scam 1992, Hansal Mehta told the story of one of India's most widely reported white-collar crimes, but also gave us an objective, empathetic portrait of a man whose unending ambition got the better of him. The 8 filmmakers who helmed some of the best films and shows in 2020 gathered virtually to explain how this pandemic and months under lockdown has impacted their relationship with their craft. They revealed what scene they most looked forward to shooting, and they weighed in on who they tend to lean on most when on the set. This is the A-List. Welcome to the Directors Roundtable 2020. Gentlemen, ladies, it's so good to see you all. You know, we're of course coming off a very challenging year, and your films and your shows have been escape and respite in these times. So first of all, and before everything else, thank you. Thank you for entertaining us. Thank you for really keeping our spirits up, and thank you for giving us something to smile about in a year that didn't otherwise offer us a lot to smile about. You know, I want to start by asking all of you, how has this experience, you know, getting through these uncertain months, the time in lockdown, how has this changed you and perhaps changed your relationship with your work? Do you see your role as an artist differently having been through this experience? And I'll tell you why I'm asking you this. Toni Morrison, the Nobel and Pulitzer Prize winning author, she had to say this a few years ago during the time of political crisis in the US. She said, this is precisely the time when artists go to work. There is no time for despair, no place for self-pity, no need for silence, no room for fear. We speak, we write. That is how civilizations heal. Are you able to relate to that? Who wants to go? Oh, Roina, go, Roina.
I wanted to go because the lockdown kind of directly affected so right. I mean, we were scheduled to release and we had to call it off a week prior, and I think I spent a couple of weeks completely depressed after after first I got back home to France. I got back to my family, so there was that initial like, oh great, at least I made it home. But after that, it really hit me, that there we were about to release, everything was fine, and we actually were getting really good buzz, and it was called off. But I think that the process of being home and being quiet like that really worked for writing. So I was able to get started on the next project, which I hadn't been able to do all this time just because there was so much promotion and it was so busy. So I think that there's a way in which the process of actually going back to writing really helped me get through just being knocked out flat with the release being seemingly postponed, cancelled. I had no idea which way it would go, So I think it is yes, I think it is a way to heal, writing in general for me.
Ram?
Well, first, thanks, Rajiv, for having us here and, sort of doing this every year. It's always, you feel proud that Rajiv Masand has called you for the Directors Roundtable. You feel like you've made it. And especially given everybody else on this panel, without flattery, I'm feeling that thank God I made the list. So, but I'm here right now, just come into a hotel, where we're meant to be shooting. And so I'm in lockdown, in quarantine, which is part of the protocols, now I call them, like COVID protocols. And I left home at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And I did feel fear. I was scared because we're going to have 200 people at the shoot. And obviously it is our responsibility. We are the producers, I'm the director. And Amita and me are therefore, we are worried, we are scared. What's going to happen? Are we going to be able to make this work with full health and safety? Obviously, we've got all the protocols in place, but it's always risky. You can mitigate the risk, but you can't, sort of, unless you go to an island and, sort of lock yourself down and take 200 people with you. So we're soldiering on, which is not a good word, but we're moving on and trying to see how we can work. But it's scary.
Ansel?
Yeah, I agree with Ram. This has been a challenging period, but very satisfying also. I mean, I found a way to edit without having to, actually I realized I did not really enjoy sitting physically on the edit, constantly breathing down my editor's neck. So, this way we found a way, we were forced to use technology to the cloud to edit. Like we were editing my show, Scam 1992, during this entire lockdown. And we just finished shooting 2 weeks before the lockdown was announced. So the entire period, was spent editing, completing post-production. And most of it, I would say around 60 to 70% of it was done remotely. So I found that very, very meditative, to be able to work on your material and to have this intimate relationship with your material without, having unnecessary noise around it, conversations, copious amounts of chai. You miss all that. But I found this intimacy far more, attractive. I want to continue doing this if possible. And I did it from my house in the village. So which itself, I wish I could do all my post-production from the village rather than being in this crazy city.
Basu?
No, I had a lot of plans that I'll do this, I'll do this book, I'll get that script. Kuch nahi kiya maine. I've just done the post-production of Ludo, released Ludo, that's it, I've done nothing. But but I've seen a lot of stuff, I think what 2020 has given cinema and Indian film industry, that it will kickstart, it will take back to a 70s era, where Manmohan Desai and coexisted with Basu Chatterjee, Amitabh Bachchan coexisted with Amol Palekar. So ये जो है ना अलग-अलग space बन गया सबके लिए. This 2020 has given to cinema. I think every kind of content will have their own space and own audience, which was not there so much. It had just started showing sign in 2019, but 2020 has given us that confidence कि हम लोग कुछ भी बना सकते हैं, हमारी audience है और वो देखेगी. हमें इतना back foot में बैटिंग करने की जरूरत नहीं है अभी कि अभी what will be the result, what will be the outcome. The burden of box office has gone off our shoulder. And that's my personal learning and take from 2020, take away from 2020.
Anubhav?
So I had a rather peculiar situation that I released a film on the 28th of Feb, and the movie ran for 2 weeks in the theaters. And then suddenly we were told that we will defeat Corona in lesser time than Mahabharat. We could not. So there was this hope that my movie will resume in the theaters, and it didn't. So slowly, it took March and a bit of April away from me hoping that the movie will be back in the theaters. And then there was this time that, one realized that no, this is a long haul. Then, then suddenly there was this feeling that, let's cook, let's write, let's watch. There was this euphoria that I went through for a week. So of all those things, I could only do cooking and eating. I was not able to focus. I realized, and I was talking to Hansal and Anurag and Sudhir and everybody and Vishal, and they were all going through the same thing, that they were all not able to focus. Only Hansal was the only guy who was writing, who was editing, and who was drinking, and who was having fun. Hansal was the only guy who was having fun during the lockdown. So that did not happen for the long time. And I did end up writing during the lockdown. I did end up writing a bad first draft of a film, which will eventually become a good script, but it's still a bad first draft. And the film that I was supposed to start shooting in April, I thought I'll start working on it. But I think by May, June, I figured that December is when you're shooting, not before that. And now I'm shooting that in January. So now I'm working on that script. But going back to what the piece that you read out, I think this is my belief that talking to non-filmmakers during this time, people have changed, and they have gone a little more spiritual than they used to be. And I think the taste of the audience is going to change in times to come. The face of commercial cinema, according to me, in India will change. Those typical single screen BC center films are going to be a thing of the past, is what I believe.
Avinash?
एक्चुअली मैंने कुछ भी नहीं किया इस पीरियड में, मतलब ना तो कोई फिल्म्स देखी या तो शोज देखे. मैंने मेडिटेट किया, बहुत सारा म्यूजिक सुना, और जो भी मतलब शोज वगैरह, और एज लाइक मतलब अनुभव सर और अनुराग सर ने कहा वो बहुत सही है कि ऑडियंस धीरे धीरे बदल रही है. मतलब इस टाइम पीरियड की वजह से नहीं है, लेकिन लाइक जो भी एक टेक्नोलॉजिकल एडवांसमेंट हुई है पिछले कुछ सालों में, और अभी इस टाइम फ्रेम में हमने जो महसूस किया है, मुझे लगता है कि जब आप आपके पर्सनल स्पेस में बैठे हुए होते तो आप बहुत कम you don't forgive things so easily when you are in your personal space. Like you're attached to your reality, and वो सेंस बहुत ज्यादा रहता है एक कंप्यूटर स्क्रीन के सामने. और वही बात जब आप थिएटर में जाते हो तो बहुत सारे लोगों के साथ जाते हो, तो एक कलेक्टिव सबकॉन्शियस मतलब एक प्ले करता है वहां पे. तो you tend to become more मतलब you forgive people or like whatever work of an art or whatever. तो मुझे लगता है कि यहाँ पे जिम्मेदारी बहुत ज्यादा पर्सनल और ट्रुथ बहुत ज्यादा और सामने आ जाता है, ऐसा मुझे लगता है. तो और मुझे और एक बात रियलाइज हुई कि इतने, बिकॉज एज अ सिनेमाटोग्राफर आई वाज यूज्ड टू शूट एटलीस्ट फॉर 15 days 20 days a month, एंड सडनली 15 साल के बाद कुछ मतलब मैंने काम नहीं किया, और पहली बार मुझे रियलाइज हुआ है कि एक कितनी एक सेल्फ सेंटर्ड लाइफ में जीते आया हूँ, मतलब तो उसी को ब्रेक करने में अभी लगा हूँ कि लाइक इट्स इम्पोर्टेंट टू गिव अटेंशन टू other things also, and look at the other side of life also. So yeah, that's where I am.
Anvita?
So it's been a mixed bag for me because I released my first film, and that was wonderful. Just the joy of it, and just living that moment was so wonderful. And in a strange sort of a way, I was quite happy to do it alone because I could really feel all those years that it took me to reach here. And I really celebrated that with myself. And that was special. And of course, the collective fear is there. I think we're all at that age when we have parents or family members who are in the high risk group. So you worry about them. But honestly, I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but nothing changed in my life. I live by myself. I don't really, especially when I'm writing, मैं बाहर नहीं जाती, like you were saying, that to cook and eat and drink and read and write. That's actually what I do. I wake up at 5:30 in the morning, I light my lamp, make my coffee, I write. And then I read, then I cook, then I have a drink. So, and I don't meet anybody. So actually, I'm blessed in that sense that मेरी जिंदगी में ज़्यादा कुछ बदला नहीं, except for the fact that my film came out. So I was just still and with myself, and I'm fortunate. I live in a sunlit sort of a house, and I was happy. I felt blessed. I felt lucky. So,
Rajat?
No, it's true that we were really lucky. We are lucky because we can write, even if everything else stops. That doesn't stop, and most of us write. So I think that was really a gift. And once I think March got over, at least I got into a good rhythm of writing at least 3 hours a day. I managed to finish 3 scripts in the lockdown, which I feel good about. It's been productive. The sad part was that when Kadak released, we couldn't party, we couldn't celebrate it like we would have otherwise. Couldn't give the team the hugs that I wanted to give. That was
Rajat, the party was in the film. I mean, you all had already all the partying in the movie.
That is true. We already partied. That's true.
Hansal, when we spoke a few weeks ago, I think you said, you were telling me that you went into Scam 1992 with a lot of anger. You said it was anger from the frustration and from the experiences of the last 2 films, but you also said it was a good anger. It was an anger that pushed you to give everything you had to the project and to work very hard. But is that a healthy, to all of you, is that a healthy headspace to be in when you're working? And I want to ask the rest of you if you can relate to that. Have you gone into a project with anger?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was a mixture of many things, anger, and I just felt that maybe I haven't done enough. So I went into into the shoot of Scam, thinking that this time all the things that I did not do, I will do, and that's the feeling you go into a project with. Fortunately, the people I worked with, you see, Scam was almost an ensemble of 150 odd characters, and of which Rajat was a sterling performer. And I mean, we had fun. The good thing is we had a lot of fun doing it. So, it was quite therapeutic in a way. It took a toll physically because, because long form storytelling was physically very demanding. But I think, yeah, I mean, I felt that, I channelized whatever I felt, all those feelings, those emotions that I had, I was able to channelize them well. And I think that is because of the kind of people I worked with. I think the big lesson is, choose your bedfellows, carefully. Work with people you really enjoy being with. It's not otherwise.
Sorry. I must say this, Hansal. If you went in with anger on that series, I didn't feel any of that. I think you're very gentle, very kind.
I have a gentle exterior.
Anubhav, Anurag, do you all relate to that? Because Anubhav, I feel like I remember you saying that Mulk came from a place of anger of towards what you were seeing around you. Am I right? Is that true?
Yeah, actually, last 3 films of mine have,
Yeah.
and even the one coming up next is actually next 3 are also out of anger. I know my next 3 films, so they're all very angry films.
Rajiv, I have only one feeling before entering any film. It's like entering a dark tunnel without any torch.
Right.
So बस वही feeling होती है. So unsure होता हूँ मैं. That's the only thing. No anger. I'm a little unsure, and I'm slowly looking for that light which will take me through that tunnel. That's it. That's one single feeling I have every time with every film.
To all of you, who for you is the single most valuable collaborator on the set? Who do you depend on more than the others? I mean, who do you find that you lean on the heaviest on a film set?
I have a feeling most of us will say cinematographer, but let's see.
Why cinematographer over the others, Rajat, for you?
No, I'm saying most of us would probably say
sure.
that, because I think you're making an image, first of all, and your collaboration with the cinematographer is the most important to make an image, to arrive at that image. Of course, production designer and costume people and actors, everybody contributes. But I think arriving at that image is really the job of the director and the cameraman at that moment.
Yeah, I sort of agree with him. With the rest of the team, the production designer, the costume designer, the actor, with everyone, you create the moment. But in the movie, in the story that you're telling, that moment has to have a perspective. And that perspective needs the right capturing. So you could have created the moment that you had written, but if you present it differently from the script, then it just might not have the same impact as you envisaged. So the most important thing while you see the rehearsal, while you see the reading, while the moment is being created, I think the silent conversation that happens between 2 people is the DOP and the director when they are trying to figure out whether it has to be a close-up or a wide shot or a top shot, or how to capture this moment in perspective of the story.
Do you agree, the rest of you?
I think for me, I'm not experienced like all of you, but for me, what I can say is that, yes, you're right. The DOP, I would have said the writer, because I was hoping somebody would say writer, but then I realized everyone writes. Because as a commissioned writer, I was like, koi to writer, koi to de do. Anyways, but that's a joke. The DOP, but for me, actually, my equal partner in this journey is my production designer. Because there are 2 facets of world building for me. So it's like a dream catcher. The DOP is going to do that. He's going to have that silent conversation with you. But the world building for me happens also with my production design, because I don't think I've had any one meeting with either of them alone. So for me, it's part of the storytelling, but that's my this thing, that it's every little element because it's such a visual medium. For me, it's not just what's being captured, but not just who's capturing it, but also what's being captured, and the world. In my experience, for me, my PD was just as important. She's that person that I would look at and like. I would know that she's going to give me magic, and she would understand what I want. And we decide our framing and our movement according to something she had designed, which adds to that emotion of that scene. So we wouldn't. Divan and I would move the camera in a way to say, okay, what she has done is adding to what I want to say right now. So so that happened a lot with me. So for me, she's special. So
I agree with that.
Of course.
I have a I'm torn between my actors and my director of photography. I lean on both of them. because I usually like to stage the scene with the actors while me and the DOP watch it, and completely, like, I let them own the entire space. Go wherever you want, do whatever you want. Okay, don't feel confined to anything. So in that sense, I sort of like the actors to be completely free and to interpret the scene in whatever way they want. So we start observing that. We start sort of, working on the scene from how the actors sort of interpret it. And then we are, there's a collective interpretation. The DOP comes in and says, they're overdoing it. They're going into some other room. Okay, कुछ ज़्यादा हो रहा है. थोड़ा सा मतलब उनको इस कमरे में रखो, आप ये क्या कर रहे हो आप, या तो but we try to create that there's a synergy. So I find this very organic, it's an organic process, which for me evolves when I ask for the space to be given to me. I leave the actors, I just call the actors, I said, let's do many run-throughs, and then you go back, change, and if after you change and you come back with your makeup, you want to change everything, change it. Doesn't matter. I never feel that pressure of time. Somehow I don't feel the pressure of time, and I end up shooting quite quickly. But yeah, so it's the DOP and the actors. I also lean a lot on my actors, and this is something that has happened to me since I started making Shahid, actually. Working with actors like Rajkumar, Zishan, and now with Prateek, and working with Rajat, and so many fine actors that I have worked in the last few years. I've begun to lean a lot on the actors and their interpretation of the written material. Before that, you're completely, it's just such an intimate relationship with the writers that you're constantly working on the writing together and all that, and the material suddenly becomes completely naked in front of the actors. The DOP interprets it in a particular way, the production designer. So it's, I can't really say that one single person. You keep leaning on people every day. I've been working with my son for last 10 years, so I lean on him a lot. If I have to shout at somebody, I shout at him. He has promised never to work with me. You don't shout. Everybody says you're very calm, very collected, and only I know what you are.
Basu, for you?
Yeah, my answer to this will change with every film. And yeah, for Ludo, maybe I'll say my assistants were my biggest collaborator, because they were also assistant DOP, they were also assistant production designer, they were also actor, assistant directors. So so I think with Ludo, yeah, my assistants, and Pritam, of course, music director. Yeah.
Rohina?
I think for me, Rajiv, it's a first film, right? And just the discovering that the joy of collaboration with at every stage, on set, with the edit, the music, that was just wonderful. That was really like when you've been spending so much time working alone as a writer, I think just having people and having so much experience of the others, to support what you want to do was just amazing. But for me, it was definitely Dominique Collin, who was the DOP of the film, who was really solid. He was really there for me, and I really feel that. To me, it's amazing that a DOP can let go, actually, because I feel like that's such an integral part of the process on set that maybe Avinash can answer to that. But I don't know how you feel when you make the film literally there, and then you have to kind of leave it to this director and the editors to do what they want with it. And I would find that very difficult, because I feel it's so important, so yeah, for me, it's the DOP.
I'm going to come to you, Avinash, but I want to come to you last, because I'm going to ask Ram first. Ram?
Obviously we all know it's a relay race, and there's a baton which is being passed from, writer, production designer, costume designer, people trying to make your work better, and you allowing them to make your work better. So I think we all know how to, sort of deal with that relay race. But eventually I've realized I'm only in the service of the actor. Literally that's all. And my actor is in the service of the character. And so eventually all I do, now I don't use lights. I shoot without lights. I shoot without focus marks. I shoot without rehearsals. I'm here only trying to capture an actor unobserved. I want to try and figure out how to make it unlit, unacted, undirected. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how to get to that sort of just capturing wildlife, because eventually that's what they are. And as soon as they know that they're being observed, then they start acting. And then they start showing instead of being. And so now I have to use a lot of tricks to try and see, how do I get these people to be in the moment, to capture that truth, to capture that reality. And I do everything that I can. And so I try and, so I'm very dogmatic about, therefore, I don't say action, I don't say cut, I do 20-minute takes sometimes, I do 1-hour takes sometimes, to just try and see, out of which I want 2 minutes. But that 2 minutes that I'm trying to get to is really something which I'm trying to see how I can get that actor and be in service of that actor, because that actor sometimes is worrying about too many things. Light, I don't use thermocol, I don't use lights, I now don't use any of this. So I'm just here, listen, I'm here to protect your work. So when we are all here, eventually we are all here, whether it's the writer or the DOP, we're all here to protect this one person. And therefore I'm only in service of the actor.
Avinash, you heard them all talk about, the DOP being for many of them the closest collaborator. As an extraordinary DOP yourself, I mean, did you miss the benefit of that when you were directing?
See, actually, that's the only way I have known all my life. That's the if I give that thing away, it will be like someone is cutting my umbilical cord. That's what I feel, because camera is the most equanimous eye or sort of a thing you can ever have over there. It's like it's just there, and it's just observing without emoting. We emote, camera doesn't emote. That's why it captures the moment of truth. It's like, and means collaborating with different people, definitely. Film and this like show, पहली बार मैं show कर रहा हूँ, तो show में एक बहुत अलग तरीके का, like first time I was co-directing, Sudeep was show running, and it was a really nice process, because volume of work also is so huge, तो किस तरह से एक दूसरे के process को समझ के फिर अपने ego अलग रख के एक work towards something like betterment, and so that was the very, very intuitive and interesting process. But means like for me, my collaborators, they change, and I really agree with Ram sir. Like I really feel like whatever I'm doing is for the actors, because they are the one who are actually going to represent everyone's work, because ultimately your gaze is like going to transfixed with, मतलब मैं अनुराग सर की फिल्म्स देखता हूँ और मुझे लगता है कि एक अलग ही तरह का क्राफ्ट, और मतलब इतना means I've heard so many things about his process, like his shooting process, and like he himself like shot his films, and I know, and his expertise over music and all. I'm really fascinated by his way of filmmaking. तो हर किसी की अपनी अलग अलग स्टाइल है, तो मुझे लगता है for me, because I've come from that practical set life, I've worked in almost all the departments, and like from setting to art to this to that, and then finally then when I directed my film. So I would just say that कि ये सारा बहुत chaotic process है मेरे लिए shooting का, तो जितना शांत हो सकता हूँ मैं shooting पे, मैं उतना रहने की कोशिश करता हूँ मैं. For me, the most meditative process is edit. I feel, because over there दूध का दूध पानी का पानी हो जाता है वहाँ पे editable, and that's the process of rewriting, and I'm extremely scared of the editors, because they know कि किसका क्या है किसकी होगा, तो वो मुझे बहुत डरावना लगता है सारा मामला. तो yeah, that is one process which is very, because I feel that cinematography is the external appearance of the body, edit is the bone structure, and the soul is the sound. That's why like, and especially in Hindi film industry, that's why like इतना एक music driven एक industry और filmmaking style अपना रहा है. But when it comes to very pure sort of a cinema, I guess we are far away from that timeline. मुझे ऐसा लगता है, मतलब बहुत सारे filmmakers हुए, but लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि sound is still quite neglected. The amount of time we spend on sound is very, very limited, I feel. वहाँ पे थोड़ा सा that's my personal view. Yeah.
Rajiv, I have a question. I don't want to hijack this, but
no, of course, please.
So we have obviously a whole bunch of filmmakers here who have dealt with failure, and the gaze and the commercialness of failure, right? Where your next film is entirely dependent on your repeat purchase and whether, you know, you're allowed to make a movie because you're then otherwise not allowed to make a movie, you know? So I just wanted to speak about that, if it's okay with you, about how directors are dealing with failure. I mean, not just the daily failure, because there is a daily failure in any case, because every day you're like sort of saying, oh gosh, this is the worst thing I ever did. But what happens at the end of it? And certainly with Anurag and with Rajat and with Anubhav and with Hansal, because here are 4 directors who've been through a retrospective, right? They have an arc, which is like their own character's arc, where they've seen everything. And we actually, and I'm new to this game, and Avinash and Rohina and Anmita, we're all in a way new to this game, right? I've been lucky enough. I made, you know, sort of Let's Talk was experimental indie. Nirja was a success. Arya is a success. So I've not yet dealt with that. So,
please.
I can answer that first.
Of course.
I haven't dealt with success yet, so I'm good. But you're right, because with every the problem is with failure is that it makes your next film difficult. That's the only drawback. Otherwise it's fine. If 5 people watch a film or 5 million watch a film, you know, that is, I really think that's a secondary thing to making the film that you want to make. But it's just that if many people watch a film, then there's a better chance that you'll make your next film soon or sooner.
Anubhav, do you have a different take on this?
Not different, really. I mean, I have been written off thrice by myself. You know, when it started feeling like I would never get to make a film again. Now, what do you do? After Ravan, I have lived a phase where I had started telling my office that maybe I'm not a director. Maybe I'm just a producer or something. And so, you know, every time I go through these phases, I sit down and I write. And I continue to believe that I'm a fairly mediocre writer. But that's all I can do without much resources at hand. So I sit down and all I need is a laptop and time, and I start writing. And then maybe sometimes I've gone and I had written a worse film than my previous one. And that somehow got made. And then, you know, you were proven to be more worthless. And then I ended up writing Mulk, which nobody wanted to give me any money for. And I was desperate to make that film. I don't know why. So I made that film, and a lot of people didn't watch it. According to me, there's only so much I can do about it, right? You can only go back to start creating another film, and the first process in creating a film is writing it. So I just lock myself in and I write, and I'm a believer, and thrice. So after Cash, and my bad luck has been, it's very peculiar. Actually, me and Hansal have similar journeys. My bad luck has been that I make Cash a disaster on a Friday, and a bad film at that. Then you go to a producer and he wants you to make an action film. And you say, no, I don't know how to make action films. Let's make a small. So for 15 years, I've been wanting to make a small film like Mulk, but they never let me make it. So it's very peculiar. But this is the seat where I am, and I sit down and I write. That's my way of dealing with it.
Basu, Hansal?
Yeah, I can write a PhD on failure. I can write a thesis on failure. So I've seen more of that. I mean, this is, I think 23 years back, I made my first film, which is still unreleased. And, after 23 years, I've seen something. I'm still not able to come to terms with it. I'm told that my show has been very successful, and I'm locked in the house, and I think that there's something make-believe happening. Oh yes, it's done really well. You're just there's noise around you, but I've never seen it that way. Failure is so subjective. After I made that phase when I made Shahid. See, before Shahid, whatever I did, it was doomed. That work was doomed, and I was getting into a deeper and deeper abyss that time. which is why I took some time out and decided that, it is better to cook than to, direct. And I thought, maybe I'll become a cook. I'll start a restaurant, or just cook. Let my wife work and let me cook for the family. Let me do babysitting. A lot of thoughts crossed my mind. And then Shahid happened, and Shahid taught me one thing. Shahid was my lesson, and I keep revisiting that. Every time I'm faced with failure or rejection, I go back to Shahid. There was no money to make the film. There was this actor who walked into my office who nobody was willing to invest in. And we said, yeah, picture bana lete, we'll make the film. We didn't have money for a dialogue writer, so we made the film we went without a dialogue script. And we finished making the film in 35 lakhs. And, I realized that you actually don't need money to make movies. You need money to survive. You need money to pay for your bills. To make a film, I think, and that keeps me going. I know that, what is the worst thing that can happen? I mean, I'll make another Shahid, and, I would give anything. I'll give my left and right arm to go back to that process, to relive, to revisit that entire process where, you're going completely uncertain. So, I mean, for me, failure is, and there's a very corny, very cheesy line in my show, which says कि क्या है success, क्या है failure के बाद का नया chapter. Some really, it's very, very cheesy. Pratik has delivered it very well, but I think there's a life lesson in it. कि वही है, these are chapters. कि you turn the page and you move on to the next chapter, and that's what I do. I mean, so when my show released, I went away to the village and I began partying before the reviews were out. When the first review was out, I was so drunk that it did not matter what the review was. My job was done. My process was over, and that's what you move on. The baby is delivered, and you move on. And if you have failed, I mean, you'll do better next time. And that's it. It's as simple as that. It's a very, very simple life that we eventually have to lead.
Basu?
So I'm like Ram. I'm a very thin skin. I really get affected. So the problem is that, coming from television, I've working so many years for television, all kind of work, and then you're catering to all kind of audiences for TRP. So it becomes easy कि हम लोग को यही लगता है कि box office hit हो जाए. That's the only agenda most of the time. But उसका risk ये होता है, I'm still looking for that one, my voice. I don't know what I am. Which Anubhav has found his voice, Hansal has. I'm really envious them, and Rajat. I'm still looking for that because you're all the time catering to certain audience and trying to make a hit film. So वो एक है, I think I will find very soon, and I'm still looking for my voice. I don't know what a Anurag Basu film is like.
I want to ask all of you, what was that one scene in your script that you were most looking forward to directing? And did it live up to what you had built it to be in your heads? Rohina, you want to go?
I'm trying to think. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I would maybe say it's the moment when she's when Tilottama, who plays Ratna, is serving snacks at Ashwin's mum's house, Vivek's mum's house, because for me that scene is sort of shows all the violence of our society, but it's not violent at all, and I think I was hoping that could actually speak, in a certain way, and I think that, I don't know, it ended up being a bit complicated to shoot for various reasons for me, but it was I hope it does that, that you really feel it's a moment where you really feel what the film is all about. I feel like it rests in that moment. Yeah. And I think the last scene of the film, of course, but
Anubhav?
I don't know. I mean, it's not that one scene in a movie, it's a scene every day actually, and certain scenes that you're scared of. On the contrary, not the one that you are looking forward to shooting every scene, but certain scenes you're very scared of कि यार ये scene गलत नहीं हो जाए कहीं, ये scene गलत हो, उसको पता नहीं क्यों सब मुझे fear रहता है कुछ scenes को लेके कि ये scene जो है खराब हो जाएगा. तो जैसे थप्पड़ में वो थप्पड़ का scene था. Starting from the time of scheduling, I've been telling my first AD that, listen, I want one full night for that moment when he slaps her. And he says, sir, that's one slap. No, he just slap her. So, we're not going to take all night doing that. So I said, no, you will not keep a single scene on that night and we will only shoot the slap. So he said, okay, but first AD is the first AD. He had scheduled like 6 backup scenes and all. And then we started staging that scene, and there was this new guy, Pavel, and Tapsi and I were bullying him also a bit. And he was very scared of slapping. And I had told Tapsi in the very beginning that, darling, you will be slapped. So it's not going to be a cheat shot. You will be slapped. So she said, okay. And Pavel, I said, Pavel, you have to slap her. So Pavel said, no, sir, I can't slap her. There's no other way you can do it. I said, no, this has to be a slap. And it actually ended up taking like 7 or 8 slaps that night. And we spent a fair bit of time. The poor girl got slapped 8 times. The only time she got a big one on her face was probably the 3rd or the 4th take. And, and after a point, you lose perspective whether it has worked or not. And so, yeah, but I'm never, after having written a script, I'm not looking forward to one scene that I want to shoot. I'm very dreadful of one scene that I may just go wrong with.
Rajat?
No, I don't think there's any scene like that. No. I'm looking forward to being on the set every day, whatever scene. There was no one scene like that which was more important or less important than others. And also because, like I said earlier, I don't really know what it's going to be or how it's going to be. So,
Avinash?
Yeah, for me, I guess it's a similar kind of an answer like what Rajat sir is saying, because सबसे ज़्यादा तो मुझे लगता है कि ये series format में we were shooting for 5 to 6 pages a day. So I guess that was the biggest challenge for me, because on a feature film set, you shoot for 3.5 pages maximum, and like 6 pages or action sequence shoot karna usme, that was a little tough task for me, I guess. Yeah, I must say that. Yeah.
Anvita?
Of course, for me, every day was just something that I was so happy about. But strangely, though, there was a lot of fun and design that I did because it was fantastical and that was the nature of the storytelling. The scene that I was actually always giddy about, the one that I wanted to be on set, and I scheduled that towards the end of the first sketch. I was like, I have to know a little more to shoot this one. Was you've seen the film, Rajiv, so it's Chup Rehna scene. The Binodini and Bulbul Chup Rehna scene. There's not much drama. It's
the conversation between them, it's a beautiful scene, yeah.
Bulbul is quiet, it's just so gentle and almost matter of fact. And it was everything that it's so interesting what you said about the violence. To me, it's the most violent scene in Bulbul, and Bulbul is a pretty violent film. So that I was really excited about. It turned out better than what I thought I could pull off. I guess that's what I should say.
Yes, something I wanted to share about Kadak shooting. This is the first time and the only time when we decided to shoot it chronologically, which is quite bizarre for a film. But I thought this was needed for this film, so that everybody in the party would know exactly where they are emotionally and how drunk they are, and build on that the next day.
Interesting. Basu?
I don't have a clear answer to this, Rajiv. I was thinking, I thought I'll come back with the answer by the end of it. But yeah, one scene which I was looking forward was when Abhishek meets her daughter for the first time. And
it's a heartbreaking
so
scene.
That scene, because when I started that schedule, that was the scene I was looking forward for in that schedule, not for the whole film, I'll say. And then, that scene was my favorite scene. I was looking forward to shooting.
Hansal?
I mean, we had a 550-page script. So it's very difficult to,
I'm guessing you're that director whose actors didn't want the script. Basu doesn't give it to them. Hansal's actors you can keep that. Just give us our bits.
No. The actors, actually, all the actors, even I think Rajat read the entire script. Only he was there for 1.5 episodes. It was, it was, I loved carrying the script with me because, to have such a big script and reminding you that, you're actually shooting this. It was quite a feat that, in 80 days, we used to shoot 7 to 8 pages at a minimum per day. It was, but there was, there was this thing in the BSc ring where you have all these jobbers this mad energy. And we were shooting in the actual Bombay Stock Exchange. So I had nearly 1,000 extras. And that's a very crazy number for Bombay. And my production had told me that I'm giving you these extras only for a day. You take all your white shots today. So for the entire show, take all your white shots, and after that I'm giving you 50, 60 people on the next few days. So it was, because we didn't have, this was a low budget, show. This was not, there's the impression that shows we get a lot of money. This is actually a very moderately budgeted show. So I didn't have, I had one day with those artists and I was very nervous because I worked with, the junior artists over the past few years. And I've, they treat it as a job that they come to every day and they do every day. Here, they had to perform because, there were all these, the trading in the ring was all with sign language. They had to be taught. So, buy, give, 5,000. So there were lots of, selling, buying, and we had to train them 1 hour before the shoot began. So there was a class held for 1,000 people standing there. Everybody taught how to trade, and the junior artists for the first time felt fulfilled. I saw them laughing, enjoying. They actually felt they were contributing to the scene. And it became very satisfying because we have this collective energy of 1,000 people, old people from the stock exchange who were actually consulting us. They went up and called some other old people. They said, come, the ring is alive again. So it was quite something, everything else. I mean, I had such good actors. There was one scene where the three of them clash, Harshad, Ashwin and Bhushan. There was crazy clash. And so there I just told my DOP Pratham, I said, Pratham, take the camera. I told the actors, just go in, do whatever you want. Pratham, shoot it. We'll see what happens. If it doesn't work, then we'll plan for the shoot. Right now, just go in and do whatever happens. And we had scheduled, they knew that I wanted the whole day for that scene. 8 hours just for that scene. It got finished in 35 minutes.
Wow.
Because the actors came in, they were tuned. The director of photography just responded to what they were doing. On paper, it was a 3-page scene. It became 8 minutes. The actors, there was an outburst.
It's a great scene because of great acting. And they really go at each other.
It was their stage. So, if you say, this is the scene that you love directing, the scene that I did not direct.
Right. Ram?
All of us have, this is the nice thing about having, sort of got 10 minutes to think about what to answer. Okay, I know what to do with this question. So we all of us have scenes from movies that have left, marks on our souls. And so I remember seeing Kieslowski's Blue, and Juliette Binoche has a lollipop that she eats, which is her daughter's lollipop, which she finds in the purse after her daughter has expired. And then the way that she eats that lollipop it just left that image in my head. And then I said, you know what? And so I've got these movie scenes which are there, from many movies that I'm saying, I'm going to do that someday. And then, Hare, how does Godfather wedding? That's amazing. And Inaritu, how's he doing that wedding? That's amazing. I'm going to do a wedding someday. And so when I was doing there for Nirja, I said, I'm putting in a biscuit, okay? And Sonam is going to, eat that biscuit, which is that's a biscuit that the boyfriend has given. And then Sonam reads the letter. And so as it is, it's a tough scene. I have 250 passengers around just to give it that energy, but it's a close up on her. And, Mitesh is like, sort of tilting down the letter she reads. And then I was so caught up by, and this was I'm saying, I'm doing Kieslowski's, I'm doing a, sort of a tribute to him. I'm so caught up by, getting hassled that, oh gosh, Sonam is really in it and she's crying and all the rest of that after the scene was done, I just went and gave her a hug and I said, amazing, amazing, And she said, but Ram, what about the biscuit? I haven't eaten the biscuit yet. And then, so we did it again. But then in Arya, I said, I'm going to do the laddu this time. Okay, now, this is the laddu, which is the motichur ka laddu. And I'm going to get Shushmita to do the laddu now. So these are scenes that, we all sort of are doing. And you're always obviously falling short of what Kieslowski did or Inaritu did in the wedding. So when I was doing the Sangeet, I said, I'm going to try and choreograph this so it feels like, Inaritu's wedding in Babel. And so obviously these things, you're always saying, but someday I'll do it better.
Ram, I was with you. We watched Blue together, 1994, at the Bombay IFFI.
Right.
We were that screening. We were there together. That was the day I decided that maybe I should try making movies. That was the most defining film that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It changed my life. When
Yeah.
I was there as a guest in that screening. Somebody just pulled me, said, "Come watch this." I was happy making a cookery show, and suddenly my life went for a tailspin after Kieslowski's.
This is what movies do, no? They basically make you forget who you are and they make you remember who you are, both simultaneously. Like when you're watching it and and sometimes when it's a great movie, you'll get nervous, especially now after Blue, then you're going to Kieslowski's White or Red and you're saying, okay, don't disappoint me this time, please. Huh? I'm nervous. I've got prepared. I'm sitting in the audience now. I'm quiet. Nobody disturb me. I'm watching this. So those are all obviously the, sort of the nice things about forgetting and remembering who you are when you're watching, sort of work that really, really stays with you for many years.
It's so interesting that you all brought this up because it's beautiful to hear filmmakers talk about that film that changed their lives. And usually it's a film that you watched on a big screen, and it was immersive and it was transportive. And this year, more than any other year, we've been reminded of the role that streaming platforms like Netflix and Amazon and Hotstar have played. And it's interesting because in this group, barring two of you, barring Rohina and Anubhav, all the rest of you, all your work this year came to us through streaming platforms, on streaming. There's something Spike Lee said. He spoke about, of course, what a great time it is for filmmakers that there are all these outlets and you can have more great work come out. But he also pointed out that, being a teacher at NYU, a teacher of film, he said most of his students have watched Dr. Zhivago or The Bridge of the River Kwai or Lawrence of Arabia on their phones. And how do you think about, how do you feel about that? I mean, the next generation that's going to discover Blue, Ram, is going to be on their tablets. Do you have an opinion on this?
You must remember that I come from advertising. I'm an ad filmmaker. I make ads for mobile phones. So I'm okay. Any medium. I'm genuinely okay any medium. And I think that you need to navigate that, and people are okay. It's the only thing is that I realized is that the remote control is a very dangerous thing. So that's the good thing about going to the theater, is that once I've got you, you can't leave. And now I've entered your home, and you just kick me out when you feel like it, and sort of press that remote button like as if it's some gun in your hand. So that I think is and therefore you are constantly the same audience. We are the same audience, whether you're a movie audience or a mobile viewer or a home audience. We're the same audience, but we're all in a way reacting to that material in a very different way. And I think what happens is that it depends on who I give the power to. And with series and shows, because I'm dealing with the same audience and I'm saying, acha yaar, ye audience jo hai na, same audience agar cinema mein hota, to I would have been able to deal with them differently. But because I'm entering their homes, I have to deal with them differently. I think that's the only difference, but otherwise I'm okay with any medium.
And the rest of you?
Mine wasn't original. It was meant for.
Correct.
I don't think I ever. Then maybe it was because it's my first and I wasn't calculating. I did not think differently that the size of the screen will define how I might approach it visually, or even in terms of storytelling. What would I change? I just kept doing what I thought the scene wanted, or the film wanted, or the character wanted. And it did not matter to me, the size of the screen. A lot of people told me, oh, it's very visual, it would have looked great, or it was never meant for that. I'm just delighted because, for people like me, we've been trying to make a film for a very long time. And you finally have more opportunities to tell your stories, like what Anu said at the beginning of our session, that it's just made it so wonderful for storytellers. It's just opened it up. Like pehle theaters the, फिर cinema आया, फिर आपके पास television आया, and now you have OTT. I mean, there are just different mediums where you can tell stories, and that is so exciting. It's just giving us a chance to do something.
It's also really challenging because, me as we are into the trap when we are writing for the screen, big screen. Our films are structured a little differently. We always write keeping interval in mind. There's again a beginning, middle, and end. We don't structure it the way, then we'll have to write our films and shoot our films in a way, it satisfies both the audiences. That we should be open about it, for OTT and for theater. There's a little bit of gearship we have to do, I think, creatively. And I think that's the future. And you should be completely ready that your film should be appreciated by the community watching and also very personal watch on their laptop and phones. Yeah.
See, while I see that, the access and the way that, OTT or streaming reaches people and you're in people's homes, there's something wonderful about that and what it's done in terms of opening up opportunities and access. And also, films like ours, films like mine could, eventually, if it's on a streaming platform, can reach people who might otherwise not watch it, because it would only be in certain centers, very limited screens. While all of that is wonderful, I still feel like it's such a different experience for me personally when I'm watching a film, being in the cinema, the way that I experience it, I just can't compare the two. So for me, I find it really, really difficult to be just outright super happy about this. I feel like it's a bit more complex than that. And I think that there's, I hope that there's room for it all. That maybe things will get redefined and juggled. And, there was a time when VCRs first came in and maybe people thought, will cinema die, And, but I haven't been subject to these kinds of pressures, like what Anurag is saying. I have never made a commercial film. It's my first film. I didn't know whether 4 people would watch it, my immediate family, or whether more would watch it. It's a completely independent film. So I went at it without any of those constraints. So I totally understand how freeing it can be to be released from those constraints, But at the same time, I really, really hope that there's a way to still believe in the cinema,
Yeah, I see this differently. The experience of watching a film on the big screen is unmatched. I still love it. There's a certain childlike joy that I get of watching a film. But the problem is, the business of filmmaking has trivialized and actually taken the joy out of watching your work on the big screen. The way I just hope this this extended period allows us to introspect that is a film worth those 100 crores and 200 crores and 300 crores. The way you evaluate a work of art, that it sort of guides the way we tell our stories. It guides the way we make our films. It guides the way because I have been through that experience where I've been told that अरे आपकी फिल्म कहाँ कितने पैसे कमाती है, ऐसे नहीं बनती है फिल्म, you have to make it this way. So those things, I mean, if that equating money with your art, that trivialization, because it's and that trivialization is lazy studio executive calculation, where you don't know how to evaluate a work of art. So you say, "Arey, just go by the revenue, na? How much did it earn?" So earlier there was a silver jubilee, so you have to track revenues for 25 weeks. Now they have reduced it further. Okay, weekend ke baad na move on, make another film. It's not your father's money anyway, So just move on. So the result is you have reduced an art form to an air-conditioned cabin and a tight suits. Very very frivolous calculation.
But it's
and I think that is the thing that this this it's sort of a jolt. It's a jolt that one day this very business that you claim and that you claim to own will shut down one day. What will happen? The shutdown is like a jolt. There are different ways to look at a work of art. Films that were designed for the big screen, a lot of them sort of get exposed when seen in intimate quarters. My own film gets exposed. It was designed for that 200 crore spectacle. When you see it in intimate quarters, you feel it gets exposed for purposely trying to create you're purposely trying to create a successful film, and you're building all these formulas. These formulas are just things that are built in offices by people who lack the capacity to apply themselves to looking at any work of art. Sorry,
but the problem is the viewers or the audiences are also worried how many crores. मैं किसी को बोल रहा था तुम रेस्टोरेंट में जाते हो खाना खाते हो, खाना आपको अच्छा लगा, टेस्ट अच्छा लगा, आप पूछते हो कितना धंधा करी तुम्हारी रेस्टोरेंट, नहीं पूछते हो ना how much business your restaurant is doing.
Exactly.
पूछते हो आप खाना खाओ, एंजॉय करो, उससे आपको क्या लेना देना. लेकिन हैविंग सेड दैट, राजी मुझे लगता है वैक्सीन आ जाने तो सब वही का वही हो जाएगा. देखिए कैसे थिएटर में लोग भाग के जाएंगे. थिएटर कहीं नहीं जाने वाला है. थिएटर इज गोइंग टू बी देयर एंड ये और बस ये है कि थोड़ा सा I think audiences have become more cinema literate, which will help us actually creating more story during this lockdown.
So finally, to all of you, I would say, you are all storytellers, and I know that each of you finds inspiration in what you see around you, the experiences that you go through yourself. And I want to try a little exercise. If each of you had to pitch a film or a show that's set during lockdown or that's set during this pandemic, or it's about the human experience during these times. I mean, what is a story or an idea that really fascinates you? And if you're not able to come up with it in the moment, then at least tell me what would be the genre that would be of most interest to you if you were to tell a story about these times. Would it be a dark comedy? Would it be a thriller? Would it be an emotional genre? If you had to pitch a story about the experience.
A love story.
You're saying love story. Yeah. It feels like you've given it some thought.
Yeah, I've written it.
Oh, wow. Well, cannot wait to watch. To the rest of you, Anvita?
A ghost story. Imagine you're trapped in a house with a ghost. Now you have to take a call. What is more scary? Stepping out and getting the bloody virus, or making friends with the ghost and moving on. So a ghost story would be fun. I'm interested.
Roina, you want to
go? Maybe the race for the vaccine.
Right.
The the competitiveness, the whatever's going on.
So it's a thriller.
sort of, I guess, thriller drama. I don't know. I was kind of trying to get away from the love story space. I was like, okay, let's do it.
Anubhav?
I'm producing an anthology with 5 films, so which are being directed by 5 directors: Hansal, Sudhir, Ketan, Subhash, and myself. Subhash Kapoor and myself. And
I'm leaving the show.
and I'm doing a feature next year, late next year, which is a bit of drama, a bit of politics, a bit of thriller. So yeah, I know what I want to do with the pandemic.
Basu?
Mission Impossible with vaccine being stolen.
Okay, I'm buying ticket for that one.
Yeah.
Hansal?
I've already pitched it, so I've sold my story to Anubhav. I've given my script also. It's a comedy. Mine is a comedy set in these times, and it's a bit of a political satire, because we're living a political satire right now, and it's not even funny.
Ram?
I think the last 6-8 months, what we've been dealing with is privilege. This is a word that we had heard, 3-4 years ago in Western civil society, which is, these people have a life of privilege. And then you realized that you have a life of privilege. The very idea that you have work, that you have food, that you can actually have a conversation like this, that you can, I can go up to my building's terrace. It's a small terrace, but at least I can go up in that terrace and have a walk round and round in a 20 by 20 square foot terrace, but I can go up to the building's terrace. And all of this has been there for the last 6 or 8 months, where you're looking at society and you're trying to figure out within this society that we are living in today, how blessed and privileged we are. There are so many people out there that just don't have this. And what I would like to do, and in fact, in one of the things that I'm thinking about now more and more, is where is privilege taking us in India as a society? So,
okay. Avinash?
Yeah, actually, I just made a film which is a part of this anthology for Amazon Prime. Okay. So actually, the story deals with the whatever Ram sir just spoke, and that's so you'll be watching it soon, I guess.
You've beaten everyone else to the race. Yours is the first that's going to be out. Looking forward. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you so much for this. But really, thank you first for the entertainment, for the shows, for the films. I know that I speak for so many people when I say that we had these Groundhog Day like months where one woke up every morning, didn't know what to do, and it was your films and your shows that really saw us through that through those days and through those months. Thank you for incredible entertainment. Thank you for healing us in many of these shows and many of these films really made us feel better at the end of every day. Thank you for that. But thank you for this conversation. Thank you for allowing us to understand what drove you and how you got through this. Cannot wait to see what you do next. But thank you very much, and looking forward to everything that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajiv. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.